All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very exciting episode of The World Gone Mad. We got a special guest on, and hopefully a few others, so let's kick it off with our intro.
In a world gone mad, the good and the bad and the good will challenge us good. The mind has been twisted, the soul has been tormented, till it is broken and lost. The world has gone mad, and you know what is really sad? Most people do not realize they have been had. I think we should not even be here to begin with, but all we do most of the time is to try and escape this shit. The world has gone mad, and probably it had always been this way, even when times were okay. Soon enough, those will come whom are ready to slay, take away what we once knew, and life begins anew. The world has gone mad with the sorrows of the world. The sorrows of mankind are done to us from behind. Behind a veil we cannot yet fully see, but I will tell you one day you'll be free. Oh, has gone mad, and probably it had always been this way, even when times were okay. Soon enough, those will come whom are ready to slay, take away what we once knew, and life begins anew.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, World Gone Mad, with our special guests, yet to show up, Mr. Vinny Eastwood, and other invited guests who may or may not show up. You never know on the World Gone Mad. We are doing a show with an invited guest that has been on the show numerous times before now. He is a very, well, in the truth community at least, or the alternative community, was been quite a big name for more than 10 years. Did tons of shows on the Vinny Eastwood Show, or the Vinny Eastwood Show. And it was always great fun, very informative. He talked to tons and tons of great thinkers and speakers and writers, mostly those on the somewhat alternative side of things, I would point out, but it's just because they're not mainly mainstream ideas. So, but lots of different stuff, great stuff, and yeah, I enjoyed it. And well, he's been here on the show a couple of times, and he's probably gonna be back on here soon again. And we'll see. We're just gonna have a talk. I didn't really have anything planned other than wanting to get a couple of people on the panel, which is quite a trick because, yeah, we also not exactly live in the same continent often. So trying to get 4 people on a panel from different places in the world, around the world, and all that stuff, it can be a little bit tricky sometimes. So anyway, we're just gonna kick it off. We are about 5 minutes in. Just waiting for our guests to arrive, and we'll see. It's just past the midnight hour here. The week is about to start. The work week. Things are happening all around the world. Things are happening. It's getting crazier and crazier. And how do you get through these days? One asks. Now, you know, politically, there's almost no point to it anymore. If you look at the world, what we're dealing with today, it's more and more controlled from the top down. Hey, Lou, welcome, buddy. Good to see you. We're just waiting for our guests to arrive, or guests to arrive, if anyone at all will arrive today. We don't know yet. We'll see. But I have the time. So I'm just chatting the time up. Good to see you. I'm not sure what happened. We're waiting for our guest Vinny to arrive and others. But doesn't matter. I was just talking a little bit about the whole madness of the world. And now, of course, they throw one thing for your attention, one after the other, you know. Oh, Vinny is here, by the way. Oh, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. That is weird. Let's get him on the panel. Not really sure what happened there, but we'll find out. And let's see if we can get a connection. Because I do saw him in the chat, but for some reason I can't get him up on the panel yet. We'll see. It's all part of live radio. That's what makes it all exciting. We'll see what happens. Maybe you have to try and come in and go out again. See what happens there. Don't worry, I'll just keep going. We'll get this sorted out. Just talking about the state of the world and the madness of it. And here we go. I think this will do better. Let's see if we can get a connection. And now invite up on the panel. And nothing. Yet. We'll try it again. Here we go. Here we go. I think we may have contacts. Hello.
Bro. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. The perfect start to a show. You never know what's happened, who shows up, if we get the connection right, yes or no, but we made it.
We did indeed. Okay. So, oh man, just did all my chores and shopping and everything, and just sat down exactly in time for the when we needed it. So yeah, we're doing good. We're doing good.
Perfect. Well, I didn't. It's so hard to get people together these days, so I had planned to put a few people on the panel. I'm not sure if they're gonna show up, but there's a big chance. So if they show up, I'll just invite them up on the panel and we can talk amongst each other. But for now, the two of us may have to do so. And that's no punishment at all. It's good to see you again. I hope you are well. How was your little trip there at the festival?
It was satanic, frankly.
Wow, going with the times.
I was just thinking about like there, and I was watching a few podcasts afterwards to sort of try and explain, because I noticed there were all these women there that had lots of tattoos, lots of piercings, lots of colored hair, and lots of bad attitudes. And I was like, I wonder why that is. And it turns out that, like, for example, if you don't have a good relationship with one of your parents, it can mess you up a little bit, right? I mean, we might not know that, but it's certainly a thing. And it was talking about like female psychopaths, female narcissists, female borderline personality disorder ladies, that kind of thing. And they have a thing about pain. So it comes from the mother and the father. The father abandoning and the mother not nurturing. Like those are the two sort of things that affect women and their development very greatly. And so they found that if these women have a very painful relationship with their mum, they will go and they will get themselves a tattoo or a bunch of piercings and things of that nature because of it distracts them from their internal pain. So I was like, yep, that kind of sums up pretty much every single girl that I saw there at that festival, man. I was like, yeah. The kind you don't want to get involved with.
Steer clear.
I mean, it's like if you had to like print a warning label and put it on yourself, that's kind of it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's kind of good that it's so clear. If you once you know what you're looking at, gives you a good idea. But
Yeah,
is it really that simple? Does it really come down to that kind of psychological interpretance of the situation, you think?
well, what's been happening of late is that apparently there's been a mass sort of surveillance of the population, or rather testing of the population to see how many psychopaths, narcissists, so on and so forth there are there. And a kind of wide-ranging effort in that manner hasn't happened for about 20 years. So whatever data we have on narcissists and psychopaths in the male and female parts of the population, we don't have that data. And apparently it's started to become a really big thing in the female community, unlike what we've seen in the past century, where previously women were treated very, very well, daddy's little girl, oh, my sweet love, that kind of thing. And they've since become sort of disposable, and have lost their value, and every sexual partner that they have, it deprives them of the ability to connect with the next one, sort of things, how vaginal tissues really react to sex. So they're having lots of partners and lots of really good times. They're traveling the world, they're having fun. When they're in their late teens, early 20s, which traditionally, if you look at the physical aspects of the feminine reproductive cycle, are their prime mating and breeding years, more or less. So they come home after 20 odd years abroad. They're past 30. They're almost 40, maybe past 40. And they're wondering why it's really difficult for them to get a guy when they've slept with 100 guys and are covered in tattoos and have more piercings than a vaccine clinic. And they are depressed and really upset and constantly on the lookout for red flags and so on and so forth. So as a result, they can't actually connect with a good man, because they physically don't actually have the apparatus to be able to do it on a physical or psychological level. And the men going their own way community call these women red lights, which is the woman that you definitely don't want to have anything to do with, because they're too dangerous. They've got personality disorders. They'll have sex with you and then have a baby, but they'll cut you out and make your life a living hell to try and see that child. Those are the red lights. And then there's the orange lights, which is, what do you do when there's an orange light? You run right through it,
Pretty much.
And that's what a lot of guys are doing now. They're just running through these orange lights, and the girls with the green lights. And likewise, this is very, very similar to the males as well. There's a lot of red light males, a lot of orange light males out there too.
Sure.
And the green lights seem to be less and less active and capable of being seen, as people are sieving through all the, to not to put too fine a point on it, human garbage. Now, this isn't to say that these are bad people, although many of them are. This isn't to say that they're not worth your time, although many of them are not. It's more the fact that this is what happens in a satanic society that really doesn't have a moral backbone, doesn't have the fortitude of conservatism to fall back on traditional family values, etc., etc. So you've got a lot of men and a lot of women who are green lights who are finding it incredibly difficult to find another one to be a partner with. And that's just really kind of sad, isn't it? Because right, when you're talking about, like, say, the truth movement and the freedom movement, it's based on that all-seeing eye pyramid. The top of the pyramid is truth, because everything starts from truth. Then it goes down to freedom, and then it goes over to love. So without truth, you can't have freedom, and without freedom, you can't have love. And at the moment, our society has very little truth, almost no freedom, and thus we have very little love going around there. And with the rise of wokeism, feminism, and various other kinds of isms, including jism, there's been there's, I remember what was his name, Max Egan. He says, "I don't do isms," and I go, "Surely you've shagged a chick and had some jism, though, bro." Like, anyway, anyway. The whole point of this is that men and women are different, but they're also complementary. Like women, for example, have a memory clause. The way that they remember things is different to men. Men have very good short-term memory, so they could be there at a podcast studio and they would know what you said 15 minutes ago and then be able to reply to what you've said and be doing it very cogently. Whereas women, everything goes into long-term memory. So that's why you can't find your keys as a man, because you put them down about 30 minutes ago, but your wife remembers where they are, right? So, and that's also why that thing that you did a couple of years ago that really pissed her off, she'll remind you about it today, because as far as she's concerned, it just happened yesterday. That's how the long-term versus short-term memory sort of differential works. And the way this works in effect, I mean, talking about the start of life and living life and ending life, men and women die for different reasons. Men more than women tend to, this is not a be all and end all by any means, tend to die short, violent deaths. And women more than men tend to die long, slow, painful deaths. And the reason for this is that men sometimes do things without thinking, and women sometimes think about things without doing anything about it. So we've got this extraordinarily difficult situation between the two sexes of the human race, and people think that we're separate when really we shouldn't be. The men are the protectors and providers, as has been seen in traditional values, and the women are the nurturers and the carers. So man comes home, woman nurtures him, cares for him, he provides for her and protects her, right? This is the basic partnership that is really ingrained in DNA, as it were. And because of the prevalence of, say, polyamorous relationships and ethical non-monogamous relationships, dating apps, and things of that nature, it's really messed up the whole scheme. It's really mixed it up, kind of thing, to the point where a woman may or may not, depending on the woman, of course, be connecting with men on dating apps. And while she's on her way to go on a date with one man, she'll be messaging and sending swipes and things like that to other men. And this is what happens in a non-monogamous relationship, according to Jordan Peterson, is that 20% of the men will get 80% of the women. So you wind up with things like men going their own way and involuntary celibates and so on and so forth. And these are real big warning signs about the traditional collapse of society. And at the same time, we're having an increased feminization of society. And the business runnings of women has been traditionally more geared towards, say, psychology nursing, early childhood teaching, because these really play to that nurturing instinct, which is very, very strong within women, whereas men would go into, say, aeronautical engineering or things of a more technical nature, because it more suits their purposes. And the statistics are pretty clear on that a high percentage of women are in certain fields and a high percentage of men are in other fields. However, the business models that are being done now, if you've got a male CEO, males, if there's a problem, have a codified response. They try to find out, what are the facts? What is the truth? What is to actually blame here? And therefore, how can we resolve it? All right, pretty logical, pretty straightforward.
Mhm. Yeah.
Whereas female CEOs, on the other hand, don't necessarily care about the facts, don't necessarily care about the truth, don't necessarily care so much about resolving the issue. What they operate on, let's say there's a complaint, there's a problem, and somebody caused it. How do we make everybody happy, right? So police officer pulls you over, beats you half to death, and then you send a complaint in to the police conduct authority, and they go, oh, well, how can we make everybody happy here? You know, including the person who just beat the living daylights out of you for no reason.
Yeah.
And so as a result, if this is happening on a society-wide level, which statistics point to the fact that it is, you're going to see that fact and truth and resolution that is traditionally practiced by their male counterparts be taking a back seat to making pedophiles happy, making rapists happy, making murderers happy, making violent people happy, that kind of thing, as well as trying to balance that out with their victims, which obviously is completely illogical, doesn't work, and as a result, society itself is collapsing basically in slow motion at the seams with this increase in feminine ideology. So it's not to say that women don't have, a place in CEOs things, but the problem is that the women who are very good in those CEO positions take on traditionally masculine roles, right? They behave in a masculine manner in order to get to that position. So yeah, it's basically unfair and very strange and very, I would say, tragic in a lot of ways, because many people, men included, have become true victims of this society and have become its outliers, for which there is no short-term or long-term solution visible for them. Everybody's at each other's throats. Nobody's communicating with each other anymore. Even politically speaking, men will talk more with their political opponents than women will, right? Women will argue with their own Democratic colleagues more than they do with, say, their Republican counterparts. And so you have this grand scheme by the New World Order, in my opinion, to destroy what really makes men men, destroy what really makes women women, and as a result, men aren't happy and women aren't happy, and society as a whole, particularly the children, will suffer. Now, the Nazis had a really clever plan of dealing with this. Not that I'm using the Nazis as a great example of anything, but they had a saying, which was very similar to the Roman saying, because, most ideas that are old, when they return, they appear revolutionary. If you want to control the men, control the women. And if you want to control the women, threaten the children.
Yeah. There's some deep psychology there, yeah. Yeah, but it's, if you think about it, life is always about relationship. Krishnamurti said life is a movement in relationship. So if you start destroying that sort of relationships, and you see it also through communication, the whole communication, the way things are being communicated to us, and the phrasing of those words, that's already a disruption in our communication, because they use so many weird lingo and things that, and political correct terms and all that stuff, and placing control on the way how we speak and how we are supposed to speak and think. So it's not so strange that we live in this strange society. And again, to quote Krishnamurti, who said that being well adjusted to a sick society is not a measure of great health. So then the question arises, if we are at some point where we need to be all the things that you just explained as a term of understanding, once we reach that point of understanding, then is there any way to sort of rectify this, get back into good relationships, get back into good communication? Because it all starts there. Communication, vibration. Um, yeah. How is one to do that? At least it starts within yourself, I think, first understanding this, listening to this information, the things you just explained, understand it on a deep level about yourself as well. And I think that's already one change. Once you get that, you can at least avoid a lot of the red flags that you see. You can avoid a lot of things, but you end up somewhat on your own. I found a lot of people who are good thinkers, who see through things. They stay away a bit from this. They steer clear from these kind of um, organizations or people, and that's the other thing that you see often. They end up to be a bit on their own, you know. And so, what is the question is, what is man then to do once we gather this information, understanding this system that we live in now, which become more clear than ever? I think if we look around, how it's being controlled, steered, how our relationship has failed, and like you said, it happens already so young in life. And yeah, it's a serious issue. It's a good thing that you talk about this, because it's I think something we all see in our societies, and for men too. I mean, if you look, good times create a little bit of a weaker person, unfortunately, comfort. And you see a huge change with other generations, with your father's generation, with your grandfather's generation. Boy, that's a huge difference in terms of relationships and life and values and traditional roles. So, yeah, how do we move on from there then? By the way, if anybody shows up and comes on the panel, I'll let you know, and then we'll introduce them.
Hokey pokey. Well, there's from the ground up sort of thing. When you're a child, it's so important to have that close bond with mum and with dad, and it basically teaches you. So when you are attracted to a woman as a male, the likelihood is that you will be attracted to her, whether or not you realize this, because she shares traits in common with your mother. And likewise for women, the men that they tend to be attracted to will have the traits of their father. Now, if you have an abusive absentee father, the girls are going to go for those bad boys, the ones with a hell of a lot of tattoos and long hair and motorcycles and gang tattoos and so on and so forth, because that's how they were programmed. They don't realize and go, oh my God, I'm having sex with the representation of my father. It's all subliminal.
Yeah,
So really, it starts when you're younger, and you talked about comfort there, and I'm like, I saw this meme the other day, a woman who says, I'm attracted to really bad men. And the first comment on her post was, "What up, you stupid bitch?" And
true.
it's like, this boy's on fire.
Yeah.
He knows what he wants. He's going to get it. So this whole sort of thing is well, because of the sexual preferences. Like, let's say, what are the aspects of having a relationship with a woman? So, does she bore the living shit out of you because she's so dull and so dumb, and so And does she like peace or does she like chaos? Right? Because it's an addiction, right? If you've been
Oh yeah.
grown up with nothing but chaos and uncertainty, and you're constantly on edge, constantly walking on eggshells because of your narcissistic father or psychopathic mother or whatever the cluster B personality disorder you happen to be raised and under the influence of, that's going to affect your nervous system, and it's going to affect what you're willing to tolerate and what you are going to crave. So if you have just the desire to go and travel the world and taste everything that life has to offer and so on and so forth, that's a chaotic woman. Okay. And the same with guys, right? It's about being calm, being stable, being steady. That's basically what you should be ideally looking for in a partner, somebody who calms and soothes and takes care of things. And that goes for both men and women. So you have some women who are very upset about something, and their man's able to give them a hug and a little kiss on the forehead and put his big arms around her and say, "It's okay, baby, you're going to be all right. It's just temporary. Everything's going to be fine." And likewise, if the man's extremely upset, "Oh, I'm gonna kill that bastard," and just like, "Oh, baby, it's okay, it's all right. It's everything's gonna get better," right? These are stable relationships. The ones who can get out of control to a degree, but also help to reel each other in, to guide and to comfort and nurture. So those are the instincts that you should be looking for. But what's problematic is how to manufacture those instincts in a child as they're growing up. And this is where discomfort comes into it. Those who do not experience discomfort at all or very rarely will be very incapable of dealing with involuntary discomfort when it comes at them, right?
Yeah.
Very, very similar to how a muscle works. I've been doing a bit of weights lately, and if you're not used to your muscles hurting because of the weights that you're lifting, it means that your muscles are atrophying, and that's very similar to how the psychology of a partnership with somebody of the opposite sex works as well. If they've been comfortable their entire life and then they go into a relationship and they've been living with their family the whole time and daddy and mummy have always been taking care of them, they've never had to take care of themselves, they're going to get into a relationship and expect somebody else to do all the caring for them. And when anything is difficult or frustrating, they won't know how to deal with it, and they're going to get angry, they're going to get depressed, and you could attempt to console them only to find out that they're inconsolable. Not only in that particular instance, but because of the fact that they cannot deal with it full stop, because their nervous system has not been programmed that way, they may never be able to experience calm and stability, because everything that you do on a daily basis programs your brain to work that way, programs your brain to reward yourself for that way. So if you're like me, and I've realized this about myself recently, way too comfortable, right? And not pushing yourself hard enough, you are going to find that the minimal amount of discomfort incredibly distressing. So having that voluntary exposure to discomfort, I know this is going to be uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's the right thing to do. Making that choice, the difference between, I think it was Dumbledore who said you have to make a choice between doing what is right and doing what is easy, because the right thing is very rarely the easy thing.
Oh yeah, true. And I mention it. I know what you're saying. I have somewhat similar problem often the time that I sit back a little bit too much. But I always mention that it's like, yes, you have to have some discomfort, but it's like you say, it's like going to the gym, only as much as you can take, because otherwise, especially if you're, like you mentioned, if you're not at all used to it, if you're constantly living in comfort, yeah, you're right. The slightest bit of comfort is gonna knock you off. You can become stronger, but it takes time. You have to adjust, and luckily we are beings that can adjust. But the longer you're stuck in something, um, the harder it is to adjust, and it's gonna take you a longer time. And especially when aging comes into play as well, it's gonna take you even longer. So yeah, it's very important if you think about it from a standpoint of a human being, what you have to go through in this world to be able to yeah, go around and deal with life and relations and so yeah, a little hardship, a little discomfort is a good lesson. Albeit, of course, that there's also understanding involved. It's not just not just having hard lessons and not getting the point. Yeah, at some point you have to realize, like, okay, this is actually for my own good in certain way. I mean, there is extremes in everything, but yeah. So sheltering is not always a good thing. You got to be a little bit. Life is a risk. You go out. You have to cross the street. You have to look left. You have to look right. Make sure no one hits you. There's a responsibility also involved there. So yeah, those are some very good points, and I think they're very important for people to get to. And often I like to dive into these deeper topics because I think it's good to think about it and to share it with people and to look at the society that we live in. And especially today, it's getting it looks like it's getting a lot worse before it has to get better. But do you think that as we see these times now decline, 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 is there a way where we will bounce back, or is it now down the cliff and that's it for humanity? Because it seems at this point that we're sliding into the deeper part of hell with all the legislations and the digital acts and the hate speech, everything that was in Orwell's book. A lot of it seems to be surrounding us today. So, um, yeah, what do you think? Do you think that we as humanity have enough reserves left to get back to a more decent place of living as a society?
Well, let's have a look at the sort of elastic that ties our pleasure and pain mechanisms. Like for some people, when they're having sex, they will inflict pain on their sexual partner because with a woman's nervous system, for example, while she's engaged in sexual intercourse, her nervous system is entwined. Like, for example, there's a muddling that happens between the pleasure and pain centers. So some women like to be slapped or choked or hit or something like that. It sounds kind of extreme and sort of kooky and blah, 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 but their nervous system rewards that because it confuses the pain for pleasure. Now, the entire nervous system, as we have it, both in men and women, is similar in a vein to that. For example, in ancient times, people would walk a lot. All right, people would walk on average, like say, 28 kilometers a day. That's a huge, huge trek, and they do that every day. The amount of comfort that they had was being able to go to sleep. The amount of pleasures that they would have would also be very limited. Certain fruits would only be seasonal. So when they find those fruits and they have that sugar rush, like if you've walked 28 kilometers and then you find a really big, juicy apple, that apple is going to taste freaking amazing because of
Oh yeah.
how uh, how your nervous system works. The more pain, suffering, and hardship and discomfort that you go through, the more pleasure and the more amazing any type of rest or any type of pleasure, whether it be food or rest or sex or whatever, will be by comparison to the nervous system. And the reverse is also true. The more comfort you have on a regular basis, the more pleasure you will need in order to be able to feel it at all. So if you have a look at society wide, we are watching, and I include myself in this, because I'm not a freaking hypocrite, and I've realized in recent days, like, oh my God, I've been a little bit hypocritical lately. I'm going to have to take some freaking responsibility for that, because if you want freedom, it comes with responsibility. All right.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
What's his name? Stan Lee from Marvel, he has this great saying in Spider-Man that with great power comes great responsibility. And with respect to Stan Lee, God rest his soul, I think it's the opposite way round. With taking great responsibility on your shoulders comes great power. And thus, if you have a look at society, have a look at how are people depriving themselves of comfort, how are people depriving themselves of reward, how are people exercising their patience, you know, all of these things that we do to deprive ourselves now have to be voluntary. Back in the day, it wasn't voluntary. Hardship was the rule. Now, comfort is the rule. And as a result of having far too much comfort and far too little responsibility, we are having far less pleasure, far less enjoyment. And this is why people are now feeling depressed. They're feeling stagnant. They're feeling angry. They're feeling resentful. And this is because instead of getting up in the morning, going for a run, lifting some weights, doing a bit of gardening, then having a nice nutritious breakfast, they will get up and they will reach for their phone. And they'll go through their dating apps, they'll go through their social media, they'll get a whole bunch of little dopamine hits that they didn't actually have to make any actual effort to acquire, right? So let's say, for example, I would look at a day, even say, let's say a good day on social media where I had lots of good conversations, made lots of good posts, and see lots of comments, get lots of likes. That pleasure that I get from that happening is extraordinarily nothingness by comparison to the day that I finish making a video that I've edited really well, or finish a song that sounds really good, because I'm sitting there, I'm making the effort, I am doing that over and over again, and doing that repetition, and depriving myself of comfort and depriving myself of laziness. And as a result, once the video is finished, once the song is finished, it doesn't matter what comments or likes or anything that I get on that video or that song. It really is tiny by comparison to the internal joy and pleasure that I get from doing it in and of itself. So men, women, we have those dynamics going on, and I think we are too comfortable. We're too obsessed with pleasure. Our diets are terrible, and all of the food is contaminated with goodness knows how many different additives and things of that nature. We're organic food. We've got Uber Eats. We don't have basically, like, I remember somebody was telling me the other day, oh, Vinny, I don't want to have a children in these times. It's too difficult. And I was just like, bitch, you've got Uber Eats. Okay. You don't have to sit in a goddamn cave worried about whether or not the fucking bear that lives at the back of the cave wakes up because he's so close to the frickin' seasonal changes that could possibly be a thing. And your man has to go out and he has to find a deer or something like that, run after it with his mates, put a spear through it and carve it up with stone weapons, and then drag its carcass like 20 kilometers back to the frickin' cave to roast it on an open fire. Okay? You don't have to do that. You can go on a frickin' phone and go, I want that, and it frickin' turns up. What are you talking about? This is not a difficult situation we find ourselves in. This is frickin'... we have an excess of comfort and convenience, and as a result, people have become excessively freaking lazy.
Oh,
They
yeah.
don't They don't want to do things because they haven't been exposed to real hardship, right?
Right.
I remember
True.
back in the day when you had to do something like, do you remember these things? They were called libraries, right? And
Oh,
within them,
yep.
they contained things like books. And, you,
Books.
and if you didn't know something, you had to go all the way to the library, and then you had to run a search using the Dewey Decimal System, and then you had to find the exact code on the racks of the library to find the one book that you kind of wanted that might answer your question, and then you have to read through hundreds of pages in order to find a single piece of information that you wanted, and you're like, oh great, yeah, that was good, that was a good whole freaking day. Now AI, what's this such and such and blah, blah, blah. And the AI will just tell you. So nobody is challenged in the ways perhaps they once were. And I think if you had to coin it in a phrase, convenience and comfort is killing the human race.
Yep. Well said. Well said. That's a sad truth. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that the irony, like, is we work so hard to get the comfort, and then once you have the comfort, it all goes down from there, which is pretty tragic. But you can see it around you, especially here now. I mean, the comforts that they offer us. Of course, there are a prison in disguise. A lot of them, at least when you look at the digital world. But yeah, it is true. But that realization, it's a good one because it also very much counts for myself. And yeah, you have to get out of a lot of the comfort, not all of it. You need some of it, of course. But yeah, we definitely need to. We've forgotten about our responsibilities. Life became too easy. We trusted on our institutions and our governments, and yeah, we gave it all away. And then you get used to it, like we discussed before. You get used to it, and then, yeah, nobody really wants to take a step back, say, hey, wait a minute, the step that we did before this was actually much more fruitful. But it's not much in our psyche to do that, to want to go take a step back, unless you're really forced to. And yeah, I think we're all in the West and everywhere else in the world, probably we're walking up against that wall, where we have to make the choices. And you see, as a result, there's a lot of stress and confusion and the laziness itself, or the incapability even to solve things anymore. I mean, who really sends an email to their municipality when they're disagreeing with things? And here you still get, um, you can still get involved. I remember, if there's some problem with the city here, you can complain, or you can email them, say this is not right. And I even years ago they gave me a tax bill, and I said that's not correct, and they saw I was right, and I got money back and all that stuff. So, but that takes involvement, and that is also often, it's still there. I also often forget there's so many options. When I really look into it, or look on the websites, I think, oh shit, geez, I didn't even know that I could call this or email them about that. And so there is a lot being offered to you as well. And that goes both ways, even with the tax system, even though it's completely unfair. I mean, there is still some things you can do. But yeah, it does take involvement. And I find also the less you do that, the more lazier you become, and also your mind. I worked in bars and places like that for a long time, and after a while I thought to myself, because you were doing so many things, taking orders automatically on the machine, that I thought, wait a minute, man, it can't be so hard to remember 5 drinks, or 8 drinks. But that's the most easy thing a human mind can do, remember a few things. But if you don't do that for a long time, I really had to say to myself after a while, okay, let's use my brain again. I don't want just a machine to take over. I should be able to remember a couple of drinks when people order. So I also became aware of it. But yeah, um, and I'm been going to the gym a lot the last year, and you notice the difference. You notice in mentality, in physically, you have more energy, and then you notice also when you sit more at night, like, wait a minute, I was feeling so good, and now I feel it slip away. That means, all right, just try and move a bit more. Don't sit down the whole night. So yeah, it's a good point you bring forward. I I certainly think a lot about those things and realize within myself also the depth of that problem. Like, okay, um, that's really gonna affect you, and you. there is an emphasis on yourself to change that, and a responsibility to change that, and it also takes a little bit zooming out, looking at the world, and realizing, okay, wait a minute. Like you mentioned, it all seems to go automatically, and we have worked towards that point. But now the balance is shifting, and not in our favor. Just like how you ended. I mean, the emphasis on really on ourselves to sort of wake ourselves up and realize, like, okay, it might not be the easy way, but it in the end will be much more fruitful than continuing on the path we are at. And that's a painful conclusion, but it's one we rather want to look away from, but we can't, especially at this point in time. I think it's really a point where it's do or die, and or damage control. I don't know how you want to call it, but it's like, damn it, man. Most people are so far gone, and I'm not putting myself above anyone. I'm part of it, but seem to so far gone. You sit in trains, people watch on their phones the whole time. There's no real communication. How many people really look each other in the eyes? How many people really are genuinely uh, there for each other? If society collapses, or if things go wrong, people don't really get on each other's sides. And there was this beautiful research I saw. Somebody sent it to me, a Chinese guy or something. He done research on comparing if we were in good times or in bad times, and he compared it to a workplace. Like, well, in the good times, the sort of you have your higher ups, your sort of elite people, and then the politicians who are supposed to be the managers. And he sort of used the metaphor as society as the working class. We all are the working class. The politicians are supposed to be the managers. And he said we can see that in bad times. In good times, these managers, the politicians, they will do something for you. They will, get a few favors from their higher ups to give you a bit of life, like we had now since the 60s till the 90s in Europe. Was a pretty good time. It was money was made, people could buy a house, so forth, all these kind of things. And I said in downturn times, you see that those same sort of managers, the politicians, are now doing the bidding of their higher ups who are no longer happy with the situation. They want it all back. And the managers are now no longer able to do things for you. And they are more listening to their higher ups. The pressure is on them now. And they put the pressure back down on us. So, um, yeah, that's where, again, you come back to personal responsibility, realizing, all right, these guys are not going to do it for us. And you mentioned also once on other shows, also on my show once, about this experiment. I think it was like in Mexico, where there was this community that was just outside of government control, and they were fixing it all themselves. All the problems, they solved it themselves. And then as soon as the government came stepping back in, it all it all went south. You know, that's another part, I think, of this whole thing we've been discussing here. Like, we are in this society that is no longer functioning in a healthy way, in a productive way, and uh, the best way is to have um, that that working that work relationship as a community, like a farm. People at a farm, you had to work hard, so you had a lot of kids, who could help out, and that was working. It was hardship, but it was working. So we don't have that modus operandi anymore. And yeah, I'm very happy that we talk about this. These are some very good topics to discuss. And the question still remains within ourselves: how do we, um, as a human being, pick that up? Now, we already touched on responsibility. Um, what would be a good message to ourselves to sort of make this world, uh, not the whole world, that will be a bit pretentious, but uh, to make our lives a little bit more better, more getting in a bit more of a positive direction than the one we have been going in for the last 40 years, 50 years. Um, yeah. What do you reckon?
Reminds me of something famed activist Penny Bright used to tell me, and it's an old chestnut. Do one thing every day that scares you, and let's say we add to that. Yes, you have to experience fear and voluntarily expose yourself to scary and uncertain situations, but also voluntarily exposing yourself to hardship on a daily basis, pushing yourself, finishing things that you start, right? Let's say you've got an option. Oh, I have the option today to do absolutely nothing. Am I going to do nothing? No, I'm going to do some work. Why are you going to do some work? Do you have to do it? No, I don't have to do it, but I'm going to do it because it's going to make me better as a person, right? When men, for example, get out of a relationship, the weaker men become stagnant, they become depressed, they become addicts, they don't have that drive anymore. Whereas the good men, the strong men, work out and they build themselves up and they build their businesses and things of that nature so that they can generate self-esteem, right? Self-esteem comes from committing esteemed acts. So if what I'm doing today is not something that would improve my self-esteem, I need to change what my habits are, right? If what I'm doing is something that I wouldn't want to tell people about because it's embarrassing or it shows my weakness or whatever, maybe I should stop doing that altogether, right? There's that. The two words that you used before were the two words that were really on my mind: personal responsibility. So in Starship Troopers, for example, Johnny Rico, after Diz dies, says that she had the courage to make the safety of the human race her personal responsibility. So it starts from within. There was a story that there was once a man who tried to change the world, but he couldn't because the world's too freaking big for one man to change. So he failed, and so he tried to change his country. Country, also too big for one man to change. So he failed at that also. So he tried to change his city, messed it up. So he was like, okay, I'll try to change my family then. And his family wouldn't listen to him. If only he'd changed himself first, his family would have seen his good example and they would have helped him to change the city. And the city would have followed that good example and then helped to change the country, and then the country, the world. It all starts from within, right?
Absolutely.
So that's personal responsibility. If you have the ability to respond, you have the responsibility to act. It is with, great heavy hearts that people are talking right now, and people don't like complaining. People don't like it. They don't like
not to
sitting
hear
around.
To do it, they like it.
They do it. They do it because they're trying to exact some kind of catharsis for it. Now, the difference between the nervous system between men and women is when a man is complaining about stuff, it makes his nervous system on edge, right? And you see that, you're listening to somebody complain and whinge for like 15 minutes or something like that. As a man, you get on edge. Where for a woman, the exact opposite is true. If somebody's sitting there listening to them bitch and moan and whinge and whine and complain, they feel so much better. Even if you're the person freaking listening to them, feels so much worse. It's because for a woman, in terms of the nervous system, very specifically here, I don't want to cast any aspersions or whatever, but to air your feelings helps them to deal with it. For a man, doing something about it is how he helps to deal with it. Oh man, I don't like the fact that I'm fat and I've got man boobs and I sit on my ass a hell of a lot of the time. And he stops complaining about it and he starts lifting weights, he starts going for walks, and so on and so forth, until eventually those things that he would complain about are simply no longer there. That's how a man solves his internal emotional issues, because we are very tied to the physical world, whereas women are more tied to the spiritual world. You see? That's right. Men do things in the real world to sort things out. Women do things on the spiritual plane to sort things out. So if you are a man and you're not at your best, if you're not fit, healthy, strong, confident, capable, if you haven't got your wealth in order, and if you haven't got your health in order, then you're in deep trouble here, right? So because your freedom is inexplicably tied to your health. This is something that I was talking to Nicola Grace from Health Freedom New Zealand in 2008 about during the swine flu, quote unquote, pandemic, is that your health is intimately related to your freedom. Because if you don't have your health, you can't enjoy your freedom. And if you don't have your freedom, you can't enjoy your health. And so that basic thing of just getting your own health in order, getting your own house in order. Is your room clean? No, it's not. Is your lawn mowed? No, it's not. Is your house in order? Have you got everything organized in such a way that everything looks clean and tidy and it's not messy? Because having mess around you clusters your mind as a man. It destroys your ability to concentrate. So again, just if you're a guy, sort out those physical issues all around you. And this does work to a certain extent for women, I'm sure. Having a clean house, having nice fresh bed sheets, and so on and so forth, having home cooked meals, all of these things are really contributing towards the positive. Having fast food, being lazy, refusing to do the vacuum, having the dishes pile up, having all your washing pile up, and crap absolutely everywhere in every single corner, that's going to cause you a significant amount of ongoing and undue stress. So
absolutely.
Take personal responsibility, sort your shit out, all right? Nobody's going to sort your life out for you, and nobody cares when you complain about it either.
Exactly. Well, thanks for that. Well, we reached the top of the first hour, but luckily, in the second hour, we got another guest here on the panel, which I had invited already. So we got Mr. Southozman here. Thank you for joining. You two have met before in my first meeting when I had Mr. Eastwood on the show. So thank you for joining, and let's have some fun in the second hour with Mr. Southozman. Thanks for joining here.
Sounds great, mate. You're going to have a quick break and we'll get into it.
Well, we just go straight through. We go straight on. So Vinny's been bringing up some great points here about the relationship dynamics, and we are just talking about the problems of being lazy and living in comfort, and how best to deal with it, and to at least be aware of yourself, and that the only person you can truly change is yourself, and that is already a difficult task, because as older we get, we get more set in our ways. We have to work harder to get those ways out of the way, and but it starts with realization and changing your thoughts. The thoughts are very important. You have to realize what are those thoughts that brought you to that place, pretty much. What do you think?
Yeah, I was just had on my mind, g'day Vinny, what Vinny said earlier, just as I come on. And my big motto, Vinny, is making the bed. If anything, get up, have your coffee, do what you need, have your shower, whatever you do. And then before you leave the door, within the first hour, go and make your bed and make it. Don't just fucking throw the sheets up and all that. Make it like a work of art, man. And that just changes your day straight there and then. Just one little simple thing like that. It's incredible.
I have been doing that recently, yeah.
Yeah, I'm so proud of when I make the bed. I've even taken pictures and shared it. Not bad for a bachelor.
Yeah, it's just so important, that discipline, and usually you learn it in the army, and a lot of people don't go to the army anymore also, where you're supposed to get a little bit, turn into a man. But when I reached my time, it was already pretty much over in this country. There was no more, there was only private military. But I think that also from society, if I think about my parents and the grandparents, their attitude was very much different, like There was less like, oh, you complain, come on, move on, let's do the job. There's no time to complain, do your thing. And it was a little bit more, the relationship dynamics were a little bit, wasn't perfect. I mean, but it seems like there was a little bit more, was more orderly. It seems like things were more possible. And now it's complete disorder. And the comfort is a big part of it. But it does remind me always of Aldous Huxley's book, where they said they have to make you love your slavery, and that goes through many different ways. And as we talked many times on the show, I did all these great shows about, for instance, the music industry, how they have since the '60s, the whole revolution, the kind of the free love, the free thinking, that whole spirit that was induced upon us. And I think that has a big part of it. What do you think, Vinny? You have talked about these topics before. I think like that whole
The
60s mentality that was so pushed on us, that has so much influenced us.
Okay, so I did a show with Joseph Atwill about this, and he talked about a lot of artists that came out of Laurel Canyon. I think it was like Joan Baez and The Doors and the Grateful Dead and a number of other these big 60s counterculture movements. And a lot of those people who bought into that movement, free love, doing drugs, sex, drugs, rock and roll, tune in and hang up, or whatever the hell the saying was from Timothy Leary. This was actually a CIA concocted scheme because at the time you had a massive baby boom, because after you go away overseas and kill a whole bunch of Germans, when you come back, you're particularly randy and you'll have a lot of kids, and then those kids all grow up, and now you've got more kids than adults in the general population who have their own energy that must be channeled. Otherwise, it's going to get quote unquote out of control. And so they wanted to make sure, while they were developing the technology for mind control with MK Ultra, and while they were developing the Defense Advanced Research Projects Association, DARPA's mass surveillance system, they had to ensure that people who were growing up in that era, the baby boomers, would not have the education in the advance of technology and would not have the resources to resist that system once it comes into full implementation, right? So you had to make sure that they weren't owning homes, didn't have responsible jobs, didn't have complete stable families with the traditional family unit. And the way that they did this is with sex, drugs, rock and roll, and the hippie culture, with CIA-financed bands that would, like, for example, the Grateful Dead apparently one time gave out 10,000 tabs of acid or something to a big concert. Where the hell did they get that acid from, bro? It was from CIA laboratory, okay? And people don't know that the Grateful Dead weren't always actually called the Grateful Dead. They changed their name after a car crash, and one of their band members died. Up until that point, they were still grateful to be alive. That's a joke, by the way. And this sort of a nuance, if you really want to call it that, within the culture wars, has created a population that do not have largely lots of resources, have not taken their responsibilities seriously, have taken drugs irresponsibly, not in a spiritual sense. Like, for example, if you're going to take mushrooms or acid or DMT or any other hallucinogen, psychedelic, that kind of thing, much like any drug really, but more so the psychedelics, you have to have an intention, okay? My intention is to explore what I have not been accepting about how my relationship choices have affected my children. There you go. There's a good intention. Have a trip and you will have these realizations. My intention is to let go of the thoughts and the practices within my life that are no longer serving me and contributing to my poor mental health and physical health. There's an intention. But instead of, oh, we're just going to take acid and go to a party, Oh, we're just going to party to Grateful Dead. Oh, we're going to take 2 tabs, 3 tabs, 4 tabs, 5. Yeah. And then you screw your own nervous system. You screw your own neural pathways, because as you're taking psychedelics, the brain will be very, very much concentrated on whatever it's currently being exposed to and whatever the intention is behind it. And so it'll program your neural pathways to accept that this is the way things are doing. Oh, this is what I do now. I go out and I take excessive amounts of drugs and listen to CIA-sponsored bands who all came from Laurel Canyon, and whose daddies or mummies came from mind control programs and were running them. And they wrote our songs, and they gave us coverage, and they turned us into superstars. And now we are basically mind controlling the population in order to disable them as a potential threat to the system that is being built to control and destroy absolutely everything that makes the human race truly human. Right? That's what we're dealing with at the moment in terms of the repercussions of the counterculture. And nowadays, with dating apps, drug use is way up, particularly pharmaceutical psychotropic drugs, that if you're taking one of these things, it can destroy your brain in so many ways. Like, for example, you won't be able to feel real happiness or real sadness. And having those physical responses to the stimuli that you experience during your life, there is a reason why those responses are there. There's a reason why you feel sad. There's a reason why you feel angry. There's a reason why you feel afraid. And that's because you're meant to be doing something about it. But nowadays, if you have any of these issues, ordinary life issues, you know what the best solution is for most people? To take an incredibly dangerous, highly addictive, kidney and liver and brain destroying psychotropic drug that is bound with a fluoride molecule, which will basically destroy your brain's ability to cope with any of these challenges in the future. And if you come off of that medication after having that realization, you can have a full-on schizoid embolism, or whatever the hell the technical term is, or you can overdose on them as well. And they've got a lot of interesting effects, these pharmaceutical medications. Did you know, and I remember talking to, I forget what her name is, Dr. Catherine Albrecht. She said that pharmaceutical drugs can make you gay. Right?
Really?
And, I asked her, is there anything about your research that you normally don't say because it's too controversial or people might judge it or something? And that's what she told me. Lots of stories. A guy went on pharmaceutical drugs 1 week and then left his wife to go have sex with a man in another city, and then came back the next week going, what the hell was I doing? I don't even know why I did that, when his drugs ran out, you see? And on top of that, these things like, for example, an antidepressant, one of the main side effects is violence and murder and suicide. Okay, so I'm feeling a little bit down. Why don't I just take this thing that's going to make me violent, murderous, and suicidal? That'll fucking clear things up. And then if I stop taking them or overdose them, those side effects are going to be even worse. Like, for example, in New Zealand, we had a man named Clayton Weatherston who was going out with this beautiful girl named Sophie Elliott. He tripled his dose of Prozac that day and then stabbed her with a pair of scissors 217 times.
Jesus Christ. That's insane.
Pharmaceutical drugs are so freaking dangerous. They cause so many murders, so many suicides, so many people are just tapping out. And that's why if you are currently on them, I'm sorry, but you're not going to be able to come off them all of a sudden. It's going to take you between 18 months and 2 years if you do it really, really slowly, taking your dose down and down and down and down gradually so that your body learns to adjust to that thing that you were trying to avoid, having a spectrum of human emotion.
So, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
You're
Wow.
welcome.
Well, thank you. So, Sir Osmond, you got anything to say about that whole
Yeah,
situation there? I
yeah.
guess.
There's an interesting connection too, not just on psychiatric drugs and things. Like there's one with the pill, the common pill that women take, and they say that there's a huge high divorce rate once they come off the pill. And what they boiled it down to is because the pheromones and things like that aren't working as usual, and then that's the usual attraction that you have. So if you meet someone on the pill and they meet you, once they go on it, they don't have that. They can actually smell you, like the female can smell the male and their pheromones or whatever, and they don't like them, and then they divorce because they find out they're not compatible. You know how much a lot of that can play in a relationship. Not even talking, just looking and smelling. And yeah, that's very interesting as well. And the other thing about the SRIs especially is that virtually, from what I've seen, Vinny, it's about 95%, if not all, cases of school shootings are on SRI drugs. Is that right, that you've come across?
I don't know if that's 100% correct, but it sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the Prozac, that was basically something like 90% just alone. That was virtually just fluoride. So you were just fluoridating your. I know I was on that when it first came out for 2 weeks, and I went homicidal. So luckily I got off that. And another one that sent me crazy was Chapniks to give off cigarettes. After a week of that, I just had like a breakdown, a mental freaking breakdown or something, and literally locked myself in a closet, sweating and out of stress and everything. And then I was even like homicidal as well. And that's the only two drugs I've ever had, and I've had no good effect by either of them. That's for bloody sure.
My God.
Let's say that the realization that we have here is that if you have a problem that can be solved without drugs by voluntarily subjecting yourself to hardship, you probably shouldn't be taking a drug. Right? Now, if on the other hand you have, say, for example, I use cannabis regularly and I have complex PTSD, ironically, for being arrested for having cannabis. And as a result, it keeps my nervous system calm. And there is a drawback to that as well. And I'm just starting to realize, just based on exactly what I've said, is that if you can voluntarily expose yourself to hardship in order to solve these internal issues that you're going through, a drug is not necessarily going to be the best option to help you. And sometimes you do need to suffer. You need to go through that pain. You need to go through that self-discovery in order to be able to deal with the problem and be able to go through life, quote unquote, with a measure of sobriety. Thinking about things in a very sobering fashion may be the reason why we've become basically surviving as a human race. People take personal responsibility for X, Y, Z, hence human race survives. People take no responsibility for X, Y, Z and kick the can down the road. The problem festers like a wound. If you don't disinfect it, it's going to get what? Infected. And the same thing is true for our minds and our souls and our bodies. We are not disinfecting ourselves from the corrupting nature of our society, and as a result, we fester from the inside out.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said. That's really pointing the finger at the sore spot. Yeah, man, it's so important to get this stuff, and yeah, a little hardship is needed and true. I think that was more commonly prescribed in olden days than was not before the whole Rockefeller medical industry started to get a hold on us. It was more common thing talking alone is also a good thing. If you have a heavy problem, talk to people, but who really listen, who really have an understanding of things. That's also so good to getting it out of your system, and also neurologically, I think you learn to find the pathways in your own minds to deal with it, and thus comes the confidence from once you've been able to overcome something. You now have the experience that you did overcome something and that you can do it and that you probably can do it again. if you just use your mind and a little bit of help and the tools that helped you the first time, that might be different per person. But yeah, it's absolutely vital actually, and yeah, it's a good thing to realize this now and to do the best you can to steer yourself in the right direction. But it starts in small steps, I think. Small steps first, awareness, changing your mind, knowing that those thoughts are part of it. You have to also know what is your pattern that you have taught yourself, and then change it the other way. But that's kind of hard because it's so hardwired sometimes. You really have to push yourself over again and again and again. So it's quite tricky. But anyway, it's 1 hour and 20 minutes in. So we still got plenty of time in this second hour. Some good topics. And we got Vinny Eastwood here and Mr. Southozman on the panel. And who knows, maybe some more people might come in. And we have someone else here, Mr. Cody. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thanks for joining. Do you have something to add to the
Yeah,
conversation?
where the fuck is Oz?
Oz?
Yeah,
Osman is
I
here.
know he's here somewhere.
I believe it's somewhere over the rainbow.
He's hiding. Is he hiding? Is he back in the closet? Tell him to come out.
You might be better off kicking him, Lawrence.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm sorry, sir. We're not looking for any problems here, so I have to. All right. Anyway,
Alcoholism.
Yeah.
Alcoholism.
He doesn't think highly of me. He came in my room and called me a communist the other day. Communist.
all
Yeah,
right.
me of
Well,
all people. He obviously hasn't listened to me shows.
right. Well, we'll just continue on anyway. So yeah, we're talking about some deep discussions here, good things. Let's switch it up a bit. Vinny, do you still do any new shows anyway? By the way, I think I haven't seen much. What's going on there?
Oh, I haven't done one for ages, mate. Like ever since they canned Skype, Skype was how I got connected with all my guests and did all the things. And yes, before anybody thinks, oh, Vinny, there's this alternative, there's that alternative, I know. Okay. And I think it was sort of like a nail in the coffin. So like within a period of 2 years, I lost all my content, about 20,000 hours of content comprising maybe 100, 200,000 hours worth of work. That's all gone. Lost my entire audience. I had like 60,000 subscribers across 3 channels. And then lost my band, Vinny and the Vendettas. And then I lost my payment from Ground Zero Radio Network, where I'm technically, I guess technically still a host on there, because somebody stole their network from them and all the subscribers as well. So everything that they were using to pay the radio show hosts like me just canned out. And so it became quite a difficult thing for me to deal with. So I got into making a movie called Grind Spot, and then I got kicked off of my own movie. That I was producing. I wrote it, I directed it, that kind of thing, and then I got kicked off of it with a text message. After 18 months of work.
The gratitude.
So extraordinarily brutal. I split up with my wife, and then the woman that I split up with her with and had a child with, I then split up with her. Sort of thing. So these last couple of years have been blow after blow after blow, and not like small blows, but like big life-changing blows. Here's your life's work. Here's your musical outlet. Here's one relationship, 2 relationship, 1 kid, 2 kids out. Here's your current career and all of your money, and here's the so on and so forth. So basically every single sort of, I guess if you were to look at a pentagram, and you have a look, because pentagram's sort of like the symbol of man. It's got the head, the 2 arms, and the 2 legs, and each and every single one of those apparatus was cut off. I got my legs cut off, my arms cut off, and my head cut off, and I was just this sort of stagnant body. And it's been very difficult for me to get into. And by the way, Lawrence, thank you so much for inviting me on the show several times before I actually came on.
Yeah, no worries. I'm a patient man.
There's been some scheduling conflicts, and so yeah, it's been extraordinarily difficult dealing with the things that I've been through, and now I've been making music on my own. I've been making videos on my own, and being as a guest on show and making a few posts. And I'm working with my mate Billy TK on a new documentary that is the sequel to the original River of Lies, the New Zealand Scamdemic documentary. And we're now making River of Lies 2, Electric Blue, a safe and effective investigative documentary. So he's wanted me to edit that and produce it and direct it, because Billy's like so busy, and they're like only halfway done with the documentary, but he's too busy, he can't continue doing it. But we've got a new editing program called DaVinci Resolve, and I use iMovie. Like I use the most basic of the basic. And so I've downloaded DaVinci Resolve, updated my computer, and now I'm learning to use it so that we can actually make that documentary, because it's the underline for the documentary is called the vaccine tragedy. And we're trying to tell the story about not only how the vaccines came out on a corporate level, what these corporations' ties to each other were, et cetera, but also the various people that have been interviewed, that have suffered, that have had loved ones die, so on and so forth. So even with such a very minimal topic base, those topics are actually so voluminous and complex that being able to tell that story in terms of a narrative structure, beginning, middle, end, how do you keep people's attention span, how do you edit things so that it's visually stimulating, so that the hippocampus can be hijacked and allow people to continue concentrating, how much humor is enough to take people's tension off so that they don't get traumatized watching the documentary, how much humor is too much, where you're just sort of like making fun of yourself and nobody will take you seriously. So there's such a balancing and a technical act that you really have to contend with the creation of a documentary, especially a very well edited one using a complex program. So that's sort of like what I'm focusing on at the moment. So I remember Jonathan Eisen from Uncensored Magazine, who's sort of like my mentor and one of the first people that really got me into this sort of vein of activism, truth work, if you will. It's something about being accepting of the fact that as one door closes, another one will slam in your face. It's just it's tough to deal with, mate. It really is. But sure. I am dealing with it, and I am trying to drink a lot more lemon water and eat like almost no junk food, and cook all my meals, and getting exercise and lifting weights, and try to consistently be doing work every day that I can. But another point of that is something that people don't realize. Resting is part of working. Okay, it may sound counterintuitive. Like, for example, yesterday I wanted to do a whole bunch of work and stuff like that, but I was so tired, bro. I was so freaking tired that I was just like, wait, hold on a second. I need to rest today, and then tomorrow I've got a big day. Okay, so I need to rest for it. I need to prepare for it. That's what I did. And today I've got energy, I've got strength, I've got gumption. The gumption's most of the important stuff, because frankly, the word is awesome. But yeah, I think that because I'm rested and have the ability today, I'm prepared and capable of being on this podcast and speaking in a cogent manner that is not incredibly depressing to listen to.
No,
so,
exactly. Well, That happens too. But yeah, you're right. You need rest. It's like, people who do a lot of sports. That's true. You tire your body, and rest is just a big part of it for your recovery. And that's absolutely true. You need to unwind. They always say work before pleasure. That's a good thing. Get your stuff done, and then you can relax a bit. That's absolutely true. Mr. Southozman, you have anything you want to bring to the table? Can be anything where it doesn't matter. It's nothing specific that we are discussing. We're just going with the flow. So
No, just on the health issue, I was just wondering if Vinny's tried any diets in particular and noticed any difference to your brain functioning, like lack of fog by being on a certain diet. I have heard meat diets. I'm very much just on a fairly decent just meat diet myself, on steaks, eggs and things like that. And I do find more of a mental clearness, I guess, or clarity, I guess you could call it. Have you ever tried them sort of so-called diets? It's not a very nice word to use, really, when you think about it, is it? Diet. But yeah, I was just curious, have you ever gone down anything nutritionally wise that you found beneficial? Because I think it's an individual thing too, a lot of the time.
Well, as a truther and a conspiracy theorist and a talk radio show host, you get exposed to lots and lots of information. And I think phase 1 is dealing with that information, and phase 2 is starting to get those things that are of a constant toxicity out of your life. We're talking about toxic foods, toxic water, toxic Wi-Fi, that kind of thing. And I had a big health scare a couple of years ago when I went in to see my naturopath, David Holden, who sponsored the show. And he gave me a scan. He's got this fancy device that scans your body with light, sort of thing. And based upon what light gets reflected back from your blood, he has a reading on what your parts of your body are really doing. So he goes, Vinny, this is the liver that we've got here. You see how it's number 1 is green. That's very good. Number 2 is orange. That's not that great. And number 3 is red. That's very bad. Your liver is a 9. And I was like, oh. And then you have a look at the food pyramid. Are you eating sugar? Yes, I am. Are you drinking alcohol? Yes, I am. Are you exposed to stress? Yes, I am. Have you got herbicides or pesticides or additives, artificial sweeteners, artificial flavors, artificial preservatives, so on and so forth, in your diet? And the answer is yes. And I drink a lot of water just as a general thing. But one thing David Holden told me is actually add lemon to it. Okay. Lemon helps to penetrate the cells. Like if you've got a basketball and you pour a bucket of water on it, how much of that water is going to get inside the basketball? None of it, because it's completely sealed. Whereas if you think of a cell as a basketball, when you pour lemon water over it, the lemon and the water actually begin to penetrate the cell. And inside the cell, you've got all this toxicity that's all kind of muddled up there together, and it helps to flush those cells out and helps to get them into a repaired state. So that's basically, if you have to take micro changes, little bits at a time. So I've added lemon to my water. I've cut out as many artificial processed foods as I possibly can, but barely ever have a meal that I don't cook for myself. And I'm certainly feeling better. I remember I used to have rage attacks, right? Like your body and your mind are so intimately connected that anything that's affecting your mind will affect your body and vice versa. So if you're angry, have a look at your health. If you're unhealthy, have a look at your anger. That sort of thing is how it tends to work. And as far as diets that I've been on, yeah, we tried ketogenic diet, my ex-wife and I, for a little period of time, and that did make a little bit of difference. I have, you know, it's funny, South Oz has just mentioned the carnivore diet because I just got like the hugest steak I've ever seen in my life. Like, oh my God, that's a big fucking steak. I'm gonna eat it, and I'm gonna and following Carnivore Aurelius on Instagram, guys. Yeah, I love disrespectful dudes who just say the truth and they don't care who it offends, sort of thing. It's very encouraging, you know. Kind of like the time when I was doing mixed martial arts with a guy named Mike. He was just as big as I am. And then Steve Oliver comes over. You know, Steve's bled on every freaking continent. He's a master MMA fighter and teacher. And he goes, you know, boys, if you try really, really hard, you'll be able to just kill motherfuckers, mate. And I was like, oh, thanks, Steve. That's really encouraging, bro. And so at the moment, yeah, trying to get some of the toxic things out, trying to put the good things in, and trying to make sure that those freaking additives and stuff like that, it's in everything. Like even in the New Zealand food supply, if something says organic under New Zealand law, in order to obtain that organic certification, you can have up to, and I think this was in 2015 when we first heard this statistic, you can have up to 10% contamination, which means it's not organic. You can still label it organic. And I think that was the year that they increased it from 10% allowing inorganic stuff to 20%. So it's full of 20% herbicides, 20% pesticides, and so on and so forth. So you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm trying to work on my health here, bro, and the labels that you're putting on here are not accurate. And basically, you have to basically grow everything yourself. And I do not have a green thumb, bro. You know, I'm just like, luckily, one of my flatmates does, and he's started to grow a few things around the place here or there. And my apple tree with the Pacific Rose apples. Have you guys had Pacific Rose apples? They're freaking dope, right? They're dope at the best of times, but when you get them off your own tree that's being basically fertilized with organic coffee grounds, the apples are so unbelievably delicious that it's literally like a freaking dessert, like an apple that is so sweet, so juicy, so crunchy that it just blows your mind. And we're about to do a harvest soon. And the lemon tree that we've got as well, which of course the natural way that you fertilize a lemon tree is by pissing on it, and I have been giving it the business.
Outdoor toilet.
There is so much fruit on that lemon tree, so that once the season gets colder, I'm going to have a shockingly large amounts of lemon juice. Got a cold press juicer over there, so every bit of water that I'm having has a little lemon juice in it. And one of the things that is happening in New Zealand now is that there's a huge cancer rate. We have a 1-in-1 cancer rate, and that was like 10 years ago. Now they probably haven't updated the statistic, but I'd probably say now it's a 2-in-1 cancer rate. That means for every one person that doesn't get cancer, somebody's going to get it 4 times. And in the marae, the Maori meeting houses, you know, quote unquote, the whare nui, which means the big house, they have a very low cancer rate among the ones that actually go to these community houses and things of that nature. And somebody pointed it out to me, is because every time you go to the marae, they've got lemon water, Vinny. And again, cleansing, penetrating, getting the cells out and stuff like that. And other than that, after this show is over, I've got Billy TK coming over to work on the documentary. So I've got purpose, I'm taking responsibility, I'm working out, I'm making my bed, I'm preventing myself from eating as many poisons as humanly possible, and now I'm going to have a steak of gargantuan. Like, do they still have mammoths around? How the fuck did they get a steak there? I don't know, but I'm going to eat it.
Well, that sounds all very well. That's very wise. Yeah, you're right. Actually, keeping toxins out of the door, cleansing, and it's good to like once a year, or even if you can twice a year, cleanse body parts, because we're so
Brother,
we last the
my brother has a thing he calls detox month. Does it once a
Mhm.
year, and he says the best part about detox month is the month afterwards, which he calls retox month.
Yeah, that's the thing that gets you through it. But yeah, it's the society got so focused the last 30 years on fitness, and that was a good thing, going to the gym or working out, or all these programs on television about workout and diets, and that's good. But now we actually go to one level deeper, and that's really to make sure that you actually also clean out your organs, especially as you get older, as you age. It's very important to a young body can take some stuff, but when you're older, it's really important to cleanse your liver and all that stuff, and make sure that you detoxify yourself. So back to Southozman. We got 20 minutes left on the show. Anything else you want to comment on or bring to the table?
Yeah, I'll say a really good nutrient dense food that I've come across. They actually call it the tree of life. Is the moringa plant. Grows really easy too, just from it, and it can grow in really shitty conditions. It actually thrives on it, and that me and Lawrence have been talking about a bit, and I take it, and we have it, and also we've been pretty big on, haven't we, Lawrence? Mushroom powders. I
Oh
get
yeah,
a 7 blend mushroom powder and mix it with a bit of whatever, make a iced coffee out of it or whatever, and it's not too bad, a bit of a nutty sort of taste to it. But yeah, I'm a big advocate on mushrooms, and
hemp seed. Hemp seed.
and
I'm a big
yeah,
fan
I
of
haven't. Yeah,
hemp
my
seed
neck of the
oil.
woods, I
And
haven't gone down that, but you have. What have you
uh,
found with the using hemp seed oil,
hemp seed gives you a lot of energy. It helps
or
you
just the
with
seed? Yeah,
the
amino
stomach
acids.
region very much. Helps you. You know. Uh, that gives you energy. It's got all the net amino acids in it. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's a lot of good. You could practically almost survive of it if you have nothing else in the house and you just have a spoonful of hemp seeds. You're pretty good.
yeah,
So
yeah. Chia
that's
seeds
always
got
good.
around for a while. They were very popular, weren't they?
Yeah.
Remember
Also,
those
yeah.
little black chia seeds? 5 or so years ago, they got really popular among people. I don't know whatever happened to the studies on that. Grounding's another really awesome one. And, there's two people that I find funny in their industry, like that live the longest, is beekeepers, because of the resonance of the key of C, they say. And it's really good for post-traumatic stress. They've even got bee lodges where you can sleep on top of a bee's nest under your little lodge for therapy for post-traumatic stress and things like that. So that's interesting. And the ones without the less pains and aches are copper miners, which makes a lot of sense. I'm a big advocate for copper. I have copper
Yeah.
just about everything. And, copper vase, drink out of that, copper freaking strainer, copper rice jug, copper bloody cups, you name it. So I'm working on knives and forks, but the cutlery side of it's pretty dear, and plates. But I've got a lot of mine from old school copper, from old places. So they're a bit of an antique as well. And I think just how many people don't ground enough, how many people live in high rise, are under bad lights, don't get the vitamin D. And it's a holistic program, really, life, more than relying. I mean, if you're constantly drinking and you've got depression, I mean, well, what do you expect? It's known as it's known as a depressant. So you've only got
Yeah.
yourself to sort of blame there. And really, if you have a traumatic, stress thing, and when you're 16 and you jump in a bottle and become an alcoholic till you're 40, well, they say you really haven't matured since that time you jumped in the bottle, which sort of makes sense, doesn't it? Because you haven't learnt the coping skills of life and get those neurotransmitters to deal with hard times and that, because you just keep always drowning it out, aren't you, too?
Yeah. That was one of the first legal drugs, pretty much. Yeah, going to the bar and drinking, and
Mm-hmm.
it's yeah. I mean, here I don't see it so much in the streets, but if you visit, you go to England or Scotland or Ireland, you also the youth, you see that really. It's like it's not good, man. They're heavy drinkers already at a young age, and it's phew, it's a very bad start to your life. Talking about health, and yeah, and as times are getting more depressed, you see that sort of behavior only accelerates. So yeah, like Vinny said, there's this complex, there's this relationship between your feelings and your body and your mind, and It all connects, and then what we're talking about, even on the vibrational level, of course, that is so important. But yeah, if you don't have your health, um, that's true. Then you don't function as a good human being, mentally, physically. That's why working out and all that stuff is so good. I've been doing it now for a year and a half, and now I have more time, so it's more intense now. But you feel it. You feel it like the power in your muscles is getting stronger. The energy is better. You walk around a little bit more, with your chest up. Like, all right, you can take the world a bit better, and um, yeah, that's very good. Sometimes you could get it if you're lucky. You can get it out of job satisfaction if it's a good combination between physical work and the brain. But yeah, it is definitely important, man. Good sleep, good exercise. And I saw one of the clips from your Telegram group as well, where it was talking about actually fasting and exercising also helps you stay young. So there's also an emphasis. Hard to do, fasting. You have different ways of fasting. You could do a water fast or just intermittent fast, and there's all kinds of ways. But for me, definitely, I feel a lot better. I feel very good on an empty stomach. I feel more energized, and so then it's hard to figure out. Okay, eat the right food and take the right things. You have to look a bit what works for you. But yeah, definitely exercise and good sleep and good conversation also. That's also very good. So we got some good people here on the show today. Mr. Vinny Eastwood is back for the fourth time, I believe. And I appreciate it. And we got Southozman and I tried to get a few others on, but we're all in different parts of the world, and it's very hard to get everybody together at the same time. So I did what I could, but at least I got you two here. I appreciate it. We got 15 minutes left, so let's give Vinny another round. Whatever you want to share with us, go ahead. We got 15 minutes left.
The thing about entertainment, and there's a lot of criticism nowadays surrounding the wokeification and the feminization of traditionally male franchises, things like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, that sort of thing, and the rise of the quote insufferable girl boss, right? And these fucking bitches, and they have it's okay. So let's say, for example, if you have a look at the muscle mass of a chimpanzee versus, say, Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime. The chimpanzee, he doesn't look quite as bulky as Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he's got 1,000% more muscle density. So he'd be able to rip Arnold Schwarzenegger's arms off and beat him to death with them without much effort, right? And there's not that much of a differential, but there's still a huge differential between males and females in terms of physical strength in that vein, right? So there's the one thing, if you're watching a woman beat the hell out of dozens and dozens of armed men who are bigger, stronger, heavier, have harder to break bones and things of that nature. If this was real life, that bitch is fucking dead, okay? Just like that. I don't care how much freaking training you've got. Like, they had the group of 15-year-old boys, a school soccer team, play against the female professional soccer team, and they beat the living shit out of them. All right, these grown women who've been training for near on a decade and working really, really hard to play soccer real well. Just 15-year-old boys who've barely got any hair on their nuts could just mop the floor with them. So when you are writing a script, when you are telling a story, there's something that seems to have been forgotten. Believability, okay? If it's not believable, if it's not based on evidence, if it's not based on facts, your brain will subconsciously tune out and it won't be happy with what it's seeing. Even if you come out of the movie going, oh yeah, that was really cool, I loved it, and stuff like that, your subconscious goes, no, it wasn't. And as a result, the entertainment value in the things that are being put out there for mass consumption because of their ideology, because of the ideology of wokeism, hardcore militant feminism is based on either a misunderstanding or outright lies and mistruths. To see, quote unquote, the message being put across in films is actually making these things like a multi-billion-dollar franchise like Star Wars or Star Trek or Lord of the Rings are now losing money for like the first time in their existence. And they're like, oh, how does this work? All we're trying to do is show things that are completely unrealistic that actually can't freaking happen, and people can't freaking believe it, and so they turn off. And we just don't know how this mechanism works. It's just, you look for freaking there is a critical misunderstanding here. Okay, this is a story, darling. Okay, stories have beginnings, middles, ends. They have characters, character arcs, and things of that nature. When you've got a girl boss, what is her character arc? Oh, she doesn't have one. Oh, because she's the girl boss, and she like can't do any wrong, and she's like so amazing and can do anything. That sort of thing. That's not a story. That's propaganda. And people are not responding as the propagandists would like them to because they're not very good at doing propaganda anymore. Perhaps maybe once upon a time they were real good at it, or perhaps now the public sense of what propaganda is and isn't has somewhat atrophied, right?
It's become more obvious, I would say. And besides, if you look at films from no matter what decade, there's so much unrealism in it. Taking a guy and knocking his head on the table 4 or 5 times, and he stands back up and comes back to beat your ass. It's like, But I mean, I get your point. Yeah. Now the last 30 years, 20 years, with the extra wokeism in it, it's driving people away from the movies. Absolutely. Yeah. Very true.
And movie theaters
Very true.
themselves are going out of business now because people are watching movies on their phones, right? Really, they've got Netflix on their phone. They will quite happily sit there. And I was just thinking about what's the visual problem with this. Like, let's say, for example, you're trying to concentrate and focus on a screen that is several stories high, a big screen. How difficult is it for your brain to focus on that? And what does it do for your peripheral vision and so on and so forth versus looking at a screen that's maybe 7 inches across, if that. You're not going to get the same experience. There's going to be things that you miss, and more to the point, there's now a problem with so many people now needing glasses and contact lenses and things of that nature because their brains and their eyes in particular have been so used to concentrating on such small fields of vision that all the rest of their vision is starting to die. What you don't use dies. Sort of thing. Same with muscles in your eyes and everything like that. So, yeah, man, phones are really, really killing the movie industry. Wokeism's really, really killing the movie industry. And me, I'm a big movie buff and a big conspiracy buff, right? Those are my two veins. And there's some crossover there because most of the time when you've got a spy thriller or something of that nature, it's because of the very basis of conspiracy. 2 or more people have come together to hurt another person or group of people without that person or group of people knowing about it. They messed with the wrong person, and that person has a very particular set of skills who will then track down the conspirators and take them out, and thus you have a resolution to the story. Right? Mm-hmm. Right? That's basically it. Now, in today's world, on the other hand, I believe we are losing the connective tissue. We know there is a conspiracy going on, and we don't like it, and we want to do something about it, and some of us do, but there are not enough people doing something about the conspiracy, which if you had to really say what the conspiracy is Agenda 21, because it's tied into absolutely everything you have experienced since birth and will continue until your death. It's what really underlies the entire conspiratorial platform. Now, if enough people get sick of becoming spectators and want to become the protagonist, that will create a radical shift in the axis of the world through its corporate consumer culture, because now you would have a big enough audience who want to see original films that have real characters, real stories that need to be told. It was kind of like how Hans Zimmer talks about when he's composing music. Before he even decides that he's going to compose the music for a film, they offer him money. He's like, I don't care. They offer him this, that, and the other. He's like, I don't care. Tell me, I don't want to watch the movie either. Just tell me what it's about, one, and why this story needs to be told, two. So nowadays, ladies and gentlemen, what is your story? Okay, if you had to put your life on screen, would it be an entertaining thrill ride, or would it just be like a reality TV show? Right? You see what I'm saying here? People need to start really thinking about investing in their own psychological big budget thriller and living their life as though that's what it is. Get yourself into danger. Have losses, have pains, have destruction, because that is all born of conflict, and conflict is drama, and drama is entertainment. If your life has no drama, you are not really living an entertaining story. If you want to live an entertaining story, you have to get yourself into conflict, and you have to not be afraid to do the right thing. Whatever it happens to be, just go out there and do it, because otherwise you are boring the audience, and the audience, whether or not you realize it, is you.
Exactly. Well, thank you for that one. We're close to wrapping it up. We got about 4 minutes left, so I will give the floor also to Mr. Southozman for the last few minutes we got here. Thanks for being here, by the way. What do you got to say?
I've been a bit distracted then when Vinny was talking, but anything in particular you want me to mention?
No, not necessarily. It's just it's all free flow. So if there's anything you
Yeah.
want to say, we're wrapping it up here in a few minutes. Anything? It's Vinny was ending on the fact that it's good to go out and take your risks and live your life and do what you can do to make your own life interesting, and don't just hang back. Be the hero of your own story, so to speak. Live a little. Don't be afraid to take the risks and the confrontations that it needs to live a full life.
Yeah, well, I guess that's pretty much what it is. If you want to show an example to people, no one likes a leader that cowers in the corner and sucking his thumb sort of thing, do they? They want someone that can stand tall and proud and talk the talk and walk the walk, I guess. And that's probably the best thing you can do. And, just improve on yourself, and let everything else and just say, so be it, let it be, what is, and just move on, just keep going forward and soldiering on through the good times and the bad. That's what life's all about. And, just try not to get too desensitized, I guess, and just become a zombified by it all. But just appreciate that what is just what is. And, whether we ask to come to this realm or not, we just dealt with it. And this is the card game we're given. And we just got to play the game until it's over. And that's it. See what happens after that. But, just try and work on your own, I guess, self-awareness, self-help. Bettering yourself in any way you can, and just be an example to others. If you really want to change the people around you, well, show by example, so to speak. But that's about all I've got to say, mate. Thanks for having me on the last hour. I didn't realise you guys were on, So I'll leave it at that, and let you wrap it up.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, you managed to do it. So thanks for being here. And I'll give. I see Vinny can has something to say. We got 2 minutes left, so whatever you want to say, Vinny, just
So,
throw it out there.
whomever you are, whatever you have experienced, whatever you've been through, however much suffering you have endured, the fact that you are here listening to a broadcast like this means that you haven't lost your sense of right and wrong. Your morality is still intact. You have not lost your sense of humor. You have not lost your curiosity. These things are key to your humanity. And a lot of people who've been through similar things to you have lost those aspects of their humanity, which makes you rare. And things that are rare are valuable, and so are you. So it's okay every now and again to just pat yourself on the back and tell yourself, good job. People like myself, David Icke, Mark Passio, go to my YouTube channel, Vinny Eastwood, NZ. I made the point to them that you guys are not motivational speakers. You're inspirational, because after you've listened to them, your energy now comes from within you, and you don't have to keep watching their stuff in order to have that motivation. It comes from within. So thank you very much, everybody, and thank you, Lawrence, for having me on, and thank you, Southozman, for your contributions to the show today. Please go to the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. That's Vinny with a Y, because it's the most important question, and Eastwood, like, go ahead, make my news.
All right, thank you for being here once again. And Osman, you can check also the Southozman show, Strange Days on Podbean. Don't forget, everybody in the audience, thank you, Mel and Sue and everybody else who was there and was in the chat. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. And we're going to get out of here with the outro, and it'll be over soon. Thank you very much, and see you again on another episode of The World Gone Mad.
In a world gone mad, the good and the bad and the good will challenge us good. The mind has been twisted, the soul has been tormented, till it is broken and lost. The world has gone mad, and you know what is really sad? Most people do not realize they have been had. I think we should not even be here to begin with, but all we do most of the time is to try and escape.